Christmas at Darren's Air Conditioning Services. Darren's Air Conditioning Services. Professional services at affordable prices. They have air conditioned units, Wi-Fi ready, starting at $2,650 with free delivery and installation. We supply Pioneer, Lennox, Comfy, and Infinity, all at unbeatable prices. Servicing of a 12,000 BTU, only $150. Don't forget to check them out on Google, Facebook, and Instagram. Darren's Air Conditioning Services. Professional services at affordable prices. Contact Darren's Air Conditioning Services at 749-8245.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. It's 4 minutes past 9 on the 7th of December, Tuesday, December 7th. It's been a busy day, week, month, year. I am still practically in December 2020 and we in 2021. It's just passing in a blur. But this show that we were looking for a name for is now officially called Gloves Off. And Kendall, Baggy, and Satish working on all of this that you're seeing below the screen here, all of that, everything that's behind me, everything is going to become Gloves Off. And we're working on that now. So I just like you to know. So for now, it will continue to be Philip Edward Alexander Live. And I want you to know that I am always uncomfortable when I push my name to front and things like this. And I literally always have to just say, sure, guys, no problem. But tonight, I am going to be joined by a panel. Now, this show is not really meant to be an interview show. It's designed to be a panel show. And a panel show is us discussing the issues, usually the important issue of the day. And I try to seek out people that don't get the kind of face time that they should get. People who are brilliant in their respective fields and whose advice and guidance I seek regularly. One of those guys is Stephen Matheson. He's an industrial relations specialist. I want to say industrial relations specialist, and he could take it from there because it's a long, long thing. So good evening, Stephen, and take it from there and tell them who you are and what you do, and then we get on in this thing.
Well, good evening, Philip, and good evening to your viewers. My name is Stephen Matheson, and I am known as a human resource management and industrial relations consultant, the principal consultant for Millennium Human Resource Consultants and Associates. And tonight I'm really happy to be on your program. Again, this is not the first time. I really look forward to the day when we can talk about what I do on the program to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. But I know tonight your program is really more very into the political arena.
No. And, you can dual segue. Touch, take some minutes, brother. Let them know because they need to know. I like Trinidad and Tobago to know that the people that I bring to them are really experts in their fields. Tell them, talk a little bit.
Right. So I know we would have spoken a lot about the issues in Trinidad and Tobago as it relates to the industrial relations systems, the problem that we have with productivity, governance, the laws as it relates to how people are managed in Trinidad and Tobago. And those are things that I know we would have planned a program, probably the next program, we'll be talking a lot about productivity and increasing the productivity feed for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. and how we look at how we deal with employer-employee issues, the relationship between the government, employees, employers, trade unions, that kind of thing. And those are issues that are important for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and they're issues that we should talk about in detail sometime. And it is probably a program that we can do, a standalone program that we can do where we can talk about those issues in more details. Tonight, I know we discussed that we will be dealing with the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, but more so Tobago, and what would have happened over the last day or so in Tobago. The last 4 hours. And the shock that would have the PDP would have produced over the last few hours for Trinidad and Tobago. So I await. I know you have another guest, so I will leave the rest to him, and we will talk certainly about.
Stefan will jump in and he'll make himself at home. Let me just say again to everybody so they understand, because it's going to come across as a conversation. This is a panel, and a panel show is more than an interview. I am not interviewing Stephen or Stefan, but we are going to be discussing some of these things. Now, you're right. Let's touch down in Tobago. All right? So I want to lead the conversation in the beginning and see where it goes from there. Somebody said this was not an election, it was an exorcism, which I find very... It was funny because it seemed so true. It was like, I hear it 14-1, but I feel that one is like a consolation prize. What do you think? You think they really win that one?
Well, what is sad about, what is sad, and all they have been speaking about this. What is sad about what happened in Tobago is that the PNM and the persons that followed them certainly didn't go into the election thinking that the results that they got at the end was going to be the results. And that, to me, is unfortunate, because clearly you would have misjudged the people, your analytics, everything, would have misjudged the people and the sentiments in Tobago. And it reminds me of a lot of 2016, the United States elections in 2016, where the people in the United States, for whatever reason, was just fed up with the establishment. And they decided to give what some people would call a madman a chance, and that was Trump. And Trump did what he did. But the thing is, what people fail to understand, politicians fail to understand over time, is that they sometimes become very complacent in the way they treat with the people. Very complacent in the way they treat with the people needs, the people wants. They don't listen. They stop listening to the people. And when that happens, what happened in Tobago last night are usually the result.
You talk about complacency. I'm going to stick one pin. I'm coming back at that point with complacency, but the other Stefan is here. So we're going to bring him in. Satish, let's bring Mr. Reese in and give him his intro opportunity. But I wanna come back to you, Stephen, on this complacency. Stefan, you're with us?
I think so.
I hearing you. You hearing me?
Yeah.
So,
good night.
Right. So the #1 morning host in Trinidad and Tobago, Stefan Reese, an activist in his own right, my colleague in the Candlelight Movement, and if I have my way, a future parliamentarian under the orange umbrella. Good evening, Stefan Reese.
Yeah. Good evening, Philip. Good evening, Stephen. I'm calling later because I had some commitments with the old man here. And Philip, I tell him, I knew earlier when he asked me last minute, I said, I'll give you 20 minutes. I'll give you 20 minutes. And he laughed because 20 minutes is like 2 hours. But I'm trying to stick to the 20 minutes tonight. So we talk in Tobago.
We're talking Tobago. Before you go back to Tobago, Stephen just said that governments, what he alluded to is governments don't read the ground. They get complacent. They start to believe their own spin. So what you tell CNC3 to broadcast and you watch that on CNC3, you believe that. Stephen, that's basically what you're trying to say, right?
That is basically what I'm saying.
Okay, today there was a funeral for that slain prisons officer. Now he only getting the mileage his funeral getting because a little 4-year-old girl was holding his hand at the time. Now the Minister of National Security called on God to be with her. Her name is Anaya. He called on God to be with her. He said the child saw things, heard things, and experienced feelings that no child her age should have seen, heard, or experienced. He said this society owes that child all that it can give. This is not Lebanon, Syria, or Gaza. This is Trinidad and Tobago where we make provisions for our children. Now, you see that last paragraph? That last paragraph is so much, there's so many lies in that last paragraph. And I want to say, and I want to use your complacency argument here. Because the guns that killed that prisons officer weren't manufactured in Trinidad and Tobago. It is not we, the citizenry, that are responsible for securing the borders. It is not we, the citizenry, responsible for giving the police the mandate and the bonuses and the rewards and the incentives to go after the guns. We raised on a show that we would sponsor counseling for that young lady. I didn't know her name at the time. And then I hear the government jump out and say that they would take care of her counseling. A journalist asked me, since when government counseling victims of crime, and what happened to all the others, the 20,000 that died before, what happened to their offspring? These questions, somebody just sent that to me. And is Fitzgerald Hines the most out-of-touch minister, member of parliament in the country, that he thinks that this country is not Gaza, Lebanon, or Syria? And we have a higher kill rate than Aleppo. What he think going on? Any of these Stevens?
Fitzgerald, it ever had a time in Fitzgerald Hines' political history that he ever knew what going on. He's the ultimate junior minister of all time that now get a senior position. Fitzgerald Hines you're talking about. And is Fitzgerald Hines has been so disconnected from the ground for the longest while. I remember there's the same man that said he was sitting in that parking lot and a guy walked up to him and asked him for $20 and he refused the man the $20 and sped off to go do his duty in the Ministry of National Services and development or whatever the name of the ministry was celebrated. That sounded like somebody who in touch with the ground to you. That sounded like somebody who in touch with the ground.
He was looking for the piper in him. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the guy.
That sounds like a person of people.
I don't want to keep the conversation too much on him, but that, Stephen.
No, but he did. But let me say this. He did say something to me that everybody should keep in the back of their mind. He said it's part of the course when PNM lose. And the one thing that PNM is always is come back stronger. That ain't no lie, brother.
Well, one thing that was evident last night was that PNM ain't coming back. You see, that example that Tobago set, I think it resonates in Trinidad. And from what I'm hearing, it resonates. And that, I think if PNM really had a brace yourself for what's coming. And we supposed to have an election. Don't go back to Tobago. Right? So Tobago now has a unique opportunity. Tobago now has a unique opportunity to chart that special kind of relationship with the people. That relationship through, I don't know how they will do it, but
I'll tell you how. Mr. Matheson, I want to tell you how. They've not accounted for the billions of dollars they get every year at the THA for the past 20 years. You know how? Open them books.
Well, yeah, that might be something that has to be done. But while they are doing that, that's a start. But the people, we have to change the system of governance in Trinidad and Tobago so that it resounds, it ends with the people. And Tobago now, as a young team, they may need to do some planning, some kind of retreat or some kind of strategic planning. But what they need to do is they need to put things in place so that the people that had all that confidence in them, they are, at the end of the day, they are the group that are focused to deliver from going forward.
Stefan, I'll give it back to you now, Stefan. But when you said that PNM comes back stronger, I want to tell you that's not really true. The NAR experience, if there wasn't an attempted coup in 1990, even after Robbie and Pandey fall out, it's Selby Wilson and Ann Robinson that rescued this country from the IMF. And I think that the PNM was politically dead. What saved them is that attempted coup. And they didn't come back to the tree. And with the People's Partnership, this is the response to the People's Partnership. The People's Partnership was a special majority. This is not a PNM special majority. So they come back. I don't like to let these things just hang there. You can't say that you come back stronger when in truth and in fact you come back weaker. They have a one-seat majority. They have a one-seat majority in the parliament.
And that might change soon.
The reason why I say that they come back stronger, PNM have, and listen, we had a face here. I don't know if Stephen would have touched on it, but when I came in, you all were talking about something that we can information to PNM have one of the greatest propaganda machinery in the history of politics that I ever come across. Yes. One of the greatest, and it is for that reason that it should never be underestimated at any time. The People's Partnership, when they win 29-12 and Kamla Mania, they were overjoyed and jumping up with Kamla Mania, sweeping across Trinidad and Tobago. They underestimated the PNM. They tell themselves PNM dead in the water and they power for the next 3 years. But you don't ever come to PNM and go back telling all you. It's a monster.
There are topics I wouldn't agree with you on. I want to just say this.
Yes,
Stephen, go.
You know, I hear that. I was part of that machinery at one time. And I'll tell you something. I think that that is by and large not the way politics or campaigning is going in the world again. And we see that happen in the US. Less money. Yeah, you see it happen in Tobago. The campaign that the PNM used in 2015, the campaign that the UNC used, I should say, in 2015, was the same campaign that the PNM used last night to destroy the opposition, to discredit the leader. And in both times,
I was the only person to do that.
Same playbook.
In both instances, it didn't work. Right?
It didn't work, yeah.
So all the money the PNM spent in Tobago over the last few weeks, it didn't work for them. It worked against them. Because people at the end of the day, they are looking at what did you do for me, for the people. Don't come with trinkets a few days before election and tell us you're going to give everybody house, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Who are you trying to fool? I remember a guy years ago sang a song, Doggy Look a Bone. I don't know how many of you all remember that song. Doggy look a bone, doggy look a bone. After elections, all the bone done. I can't remember the author of that. But that is exactly the politics, that 1970s politics. The PNM played last night and they were vanquished.
Well, if I could jump in here, right? One of the main reasons why that kind of campaign grew again, one of the main reasons why they felt all this money for the entire campaign, if you turn on any local station in Trinidad, you would hear PNM meeting with. They spent real money, not just that 50 million that they went and gave people. The 50 million election gimmick money now. They spent a lot of money with these political meetings to get the message out, right? But here's the thing. The dynamic has changed. On television, I could tell you, mainstream media, as we know it to be, no longer drives the narrative.
Nope.
Social media is a new monster in the game. And if you look at the pandemic, if we assess this pandemic over the last 20 months, the one thing that I realized, quite happy to me, I am reading more now. I am learning subject matters that I never would have been interested in or paid attention to before. So people now more aware. They don't trust the mainstream media because they don't believe that they're getting truth from the mainstream media. You understand what I'm saying? And they go in search of the truth. And then they assess the information, because a lot of information out there, and they're making decisions on their own, not just what the politicians tell them, or the leaders tell them, or the media tell them. People now are thinking, and that long time approach to trying to woo our electorate with these old cheap tricks, it's not going to work. And it especially
because they have access to information.
Exactly.
No, but Stefan, the UNC is using that same playbook now, and they're not understanding. Stefan, they're not understanding why they're so.
Let me stop you there. UNC trying to use the social media playbook, but they have no strategy.
No, not social media. They're using the old mash them up playbook. That's what they're using. I don't see them on social media. They're little forays in the social media, notwithstanding. The UNC did not learn the lesson of 2015, you know.
No, they didn't.
The UNC has not.
I agree with you on that.
They have not learned. They spent all of their budget focused on Keep Rowley. They spent so much, and the PNM spent their whole budget focused on Watson Duke, and both backfired.
Exactly. Both backfired.
Yeah. But the UNC doesn't understand why. And I was telling Stephen before you came on, actually before we were on air, that even if the PNM was to catch a fire and burn themselves to the ground, it's not helping the UNC. The UNC stock's not rising. People are not saying, well, let's look to the UNC. I am getting posts, videos, memes, people saying both of them have to go. The country want a clean sweep.
Exactly.
The country wants new dynamic leadership. Not these old recycled politicians, these same faces that you see. If PNM is the problem in the view of many people, in the eyes of many people, there is no way you could look at the UNC and say that's the solution. So people recognize that. People recognize that. They want something new. That is what the PDP brought to Tobago. The people at Tobago saw something different. They saw something new. They say, you know what happened? If ever a time for a change, it had to be now. And those people, the Farley Augustins and the Watson Duke and the rest of his team, you know where they spend their time? On the ground, walking among the people.
And as you bring that up, I want to say this, right? Because a journalist, a media worker, put out this morning that the difference in Tobago is that Trinidad don't have a viable alternative. But I want to demystify that for a minute, and I'll tell you why. The total electorate in Tobago is 51,000 people. That is the total electorate in Tobago, 51,000 people. That is two constituencies in Trinidad.
About 29,000 voted.
29,273, 57% came out.
Right.
57% turnout. After all a million spent, only 57% of the electorate came out. But I'm not downplaying it at all. I think the people who would have supported PNM, they fed up. And they couldn't vote PDP, so they didn't vote at all. They just didn't come out. PNM didn't come out.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me just stick up in right here. I was about to ask you, with the 6-6 time earlier on this year, what turnout was like in comparison?
I don't have those numbers. I can get those numbers.
Last night.
Satish, see if you or
right.
Kendall could put your hand on those numbers and WhatsApp it to me, please. Continue, Stefan.
Because how I know it, right, and how I understand it, PNM voters don't ever swing the vote. They withhold the vote. It happened to Manning when he lost. It's not that PNM people went and vote for an next party, you know. It's just that PNM people say, see me, I'm fed up, I don't like the leadership.
The numbers show that.
Look, wherever I'm not coming out and vote. They just
don't
vote.
They withheld the vote.
They don't vote until something better is offered to them.
PNM didn't come out. PNM voters are upset with PNM. They didn't come out.
Yeah.
Because this 29,273, that PDP following. That's
so usually we would say that the UNC vote is the more polarized vote. You would say that if you don't understand the UNC and the PNM vote is the more polarized vote because the PNM people wouldn't vote for UNC.
Exactly.
The PNM people will hold the vote.
Let me say this to the UNC. Until you take the East-West corridor seriously, you cannot win an election in Trinidad and Tobago. You will always be looking for a partner. UNC don't have a single office on the East-West corridor. So that is why they're trapped behind the Caroni Bridge.
Yeah. The problem is, under Pandey was able to campaign anywhere. Pandey used to campaign anywhere. East-West corridor, you name it, anywhere. Under Kamla Persad, right? And this is the truth. She take the whole party and carry it down Central South.
You're not the first person to say that to me today. You're not the first person to say that under the Kamla Persad regime, the party went more Indo-centric. If such a thing was possible, it retreated from the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. Not the couple token faces in the party notwithstanding, the UNC does not resonate. You can't really resonate UNC in Diego Martin West. Be real, be honest.
No, you can't.
And your friend, but your friend Marsha Walker, right? They abandoned Marsha after 2010, after 2020. The same way they abandoned Avanel Hector Joseph in 2015. There is no continuity. They don't follow up with their candidates. It is I who came, when they appointed this guy, Magoo, as the PRO, I said, why not Marsha Walker? She's a media personality. She knows how to talk. She's bright. She's driven.
Yeah.
She's a red woman. The last thing the UNC need is a next East Indian face in a high position. And she was willing. All of a sudden, they kind of sniffing wrong her again because I've put her name back in play. But they still, and you just asked a question, Brian Stone. Every now and then you hear the name Brian Stone. Brian Stone is a Westmoreland person connected to the UNC. But Brian Stone, for all the work he has tried to do for the UNC, they will never give him or his supporters or the people that he's working with the kind of support they need. Eli Zakur run for different seats for them. This guy, Don Sylvester, up in the back of Diego Martin. Don Sylvester is a party mobilizer in the north of Trinidad. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Afro-Trinidadians is who Don Sylvester mobilizes. Rich Plain, Covine, that Bagatelle, Blue Ridge, that's his stomping ground. You have these people, Marsha and Don Sylvester, Eli and Brian Stone. Those four. If you organize them, now telling the UNC how to play, you don't know to spend some of that money and put them in an office and tell them, let's build. It's not in my best interest to give the UNC any advice. They're supposed to know this by now. They should know this.
We don't take good advice. Don't worry about that.
Well, the strategy is really to bombard the airways with advertisements on what we did if you were in government, what you did, what what the opposition wouldn't do or cannot do. You know, that's usually strategy. But on the ground, and you saw it in Tobago. I listened to some of the interviews after the election last night, and you heard, do not come to Tobago and disrespect us like that. Yeah. Do not come and try to fool us, right? If you weren't doing anything, listen, an airport for $1 billion, what is that doing for me when we don't even have hotels in Tobago, or we don't even have the infrastructure in Tobago to accommodate the people who could even possibly come to that airport? You're bullshitting us.
Yeah.
The Seabridge fiasco, gentlemen, destroyed people in Tobago. Somebody tell me, you can't talk. She tell me, until they experience the 6 and 8 hours we had to sleep on that port to get on a boat, and sometimes after you sleep there for 6 and 8 hours, you find out you're not getting on the boat, you have to go back home. Last night was punishment for that.
As Trinidad, we are afraid to go to Tobago.
Still.
Because we feel like if we go to Tobago, we won't get to come back when we come to work.
You feel like it never fixed. You see boats stalling out in the sea, boat catching a fire, boat calcate up in the air. You don't want to go on them mad boats.
Yes. But
the super fast Galatia. The super fast Galatia was doing such a good job, but it was somebody else's lease. And as far as the PNM was concerned, somebody else was eating a food who wasn't a PNM. So they had to mash up that lease. The super fast Galatia, I don't know if you all was following the story. The last 2 trips that they make the super fast Galatia make, when they was in Tobago, that was the last trip that they were legally entitled to do for Trinidad and Tobago, and they was going. They bring the Coast Guard and force the boat to make a trip to Trinidad. And when they reach Trinidad, they just turn around and leave. And they call them back. They say, you're leaving this behind, you're leaving that. They say, keep it. Keep it. We don't ever want to be near Trinidad again. That's the reputation we have. This country, the super fast Galatia, nobody had I never went on the boat, but nobody had a problem.
I never travel on the ferry to Tobago. I just take the plane if I'm going to Tobago. I was even to Tobago like 2 or 3 times. I've never taken the ferry. And I cannot recall any issue in the time that particular boat was servicing the Seabridge, the super fast. I can't remember one issue ever. And these people get rid of that. But the same for Gerald Hines in the same press conference you're talking about, he said PNM just brings stability. But the Seabridge was stable. You destabilized.
Talk to the people in Tobago. You'll hear why stability. Listen, I have a client in Tobago. I have a client in Tobago who has a hotel. And this man, over the last 5 years, has been crying repeatedly. I'm talking about before COVID. That the Seabridge is destroying his business.
But talk to Diane Haddad.
Because it just can't be no guarantee.
Talk to Diane Haddad, the woman fuming mad. Every time I talk to her, she fuming. She's the head of the Chamber of Commerce in Tobago.
Yeah, she's fire, boy. She's fire.
No, but she fuming mad. Listen, Tobago, I telling you all, you know, that whole crew that run for elections, they're literally green. They choose the right color, they're green. And Tobago didn't care. Tobago just wanted to run PNM out of the country. They would have voted for a fake patch. Watson, Duke, and the PDP last night, they benefited from a hate vote. When the person said that this wasn't an election, it was an exorcism, that is an absolute fact. That is what took place in Tobago.
Yeah, but I think to Duke, I think Duke, we can't downplay. We can't give PNM too much credit for being PNM and eventually just self disrupting at times. What Duke did, he's been doing a lot of work. We can't take away, I don't want to take away credit from the work that you put up on the ground. I think he run a hell of a ground campaign. A hell of a
I'm
ground
not
campaign.
telling
And
you,
I think,
no. But
no,
somebody tell me they empty out courts and give a fridge and give a stove. Listen, Anne-Marie Dulal wrote this 2 days ago. She said, I do not know who is directing and running the PDP campaign, but they are running rings around the PNM. The PNM looking like babbling, bumbling bozos. They are imploding their own campaign despite the injection of Rowley and his cabinet ministers, plus state funds and resources thrown in as additional way to throw off the PDP. Misstep after misstep, their idiocracy in plain sight. All the Trinity consultants they bought in, plus the boatload of hotspot supporters, because the local PNM candidates don't have enough persons walking with them to campaign. This was a fact. The PDP is the one maintaining discipline, order, and structure, clever taglines, and an infectious energy with a Tobago native vision. If there is such a word, Rowley came up here to bark, bully, threaten, and wajang himself, just like Tracy and the other PNM candidates, while Farley Chavez Augustine and his team speak about issues and how we could solve them, giving people hope, while PNM giving people commerce and fare. A 65-year-old party now on their back heels from a 6-year-old native party who has blazed a shining trail in the Tobago election. The only way PNM could win is if they tamper with the ballot box, and if they do, it won't be nice for them. The people are rising up. While Rowley threaten, bully, and insult people and teach fair, Farley teach them all that they are better than anyone think of themselves, and to want and create a better future, they must dream it, build it, and live it. Brilliant. She wrote that before they put that movie the night before the election, and that movie I think sealed it. I don't know if you saw it, but I think that movie, that the whole campaign. So Stefan, I mean, I didn't want to downplay how much work the PDP did, but the PNM helped them.
No, they helped them, but listen, if there's one thing I could say, you see Farley Augustine. I didn't know who Farley Augustine was up to about 4 or 5 years ago. Right? I heard him speak at on our platform, and the man catch my ear, and I started to say, "Oh, who's that man?" I wasn't paying attention to the big politics as much as I am now, And somebody tell me that is Farley Augustine. But after that, you have good leader vote, and you can't watch me funny because you have to support. You know this move now. When they tell them Rama is a good leader, they stop hearing them, right?
But brother, you in the belly of the beast. You in the belly of the beast now.
So as years went along, I started to follow Farley and you see last night, I didn't get to hear him on the platforms and stuff on the meetings, but you see last night in accepting the victory, in our victory speech.
Impressive.
Farley Augustine.
Impressive.
You see Mia Motley, it have a reason why people does draw towards, she does draw people towards her. She does catch their attention. It's because when she speaks, she don't speak at people. She just speaks.
She's joining.
On this level here, with them. Eye to eye. It have certain people in the country when they're talking, they just talk over the people head. That is a big problem UNC have.
Stefan.
UNC does speak a language on the platform. That's all. They speak a language on the platform that the average man don't want to hear and can understand. PNM leaders now, they head up in the air and they're on a level of arrogance and ignorance. That is speaking at the people. Like the article that you just read there, where they said, he went basically to bully and poof. He talking at them. Farley and them talking to the people.
Boss, in the last 6 months, Keith Rowley has told the nation to give him a break and told an activist on national television to kiss his ass. Now tell me. Tell me where you're
You
going.
also say he's never been to our houses, so let me don't forget to do that. At least he never been
And
to our house.
Philip,
Somebody should buy him a shovel. He
what's
a big old
amazing?
boy.
Although that kind of looks
What's amazing about the PNM is that they keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And they're expecting that people wouldn't at least at some point in time get to them.
Yeah.
So you pissing on me all the time. And you telling me it's raining.
Yeah.
And that annoyed the hell out of the people in Tobago.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And it's not just the Superfast Glacier. It's not just the Sea Bridge. What they did them with that airport, they threatened people and bully them to get out of their house. You taking away people's homes and you not caring. And in Tobago, the difference between Tobagonians and Trinidadians is land ownership and home ownership in Tobago high. They're very much about community. When a person living in Tobago, generally, they're living in the same house or in the same street that mommy live and mommy live. That's how Tobago is. They have three things that they punished them for last night. You see No Man's Land Sandals, and what they do, that Tobago, they drive people out of business to accommodate Sandals. There was a hotel somewhere in the vicinity. They tell me the man was there 40 years and they closed. They couldn't believe that man closed down. You give two bribe to open hotel, you buy hotel, you're giving all your friends and finances millions of dollars for hotel, building new hotel, you announce you're going to take Rockney Bay. People telling me that is our next environmentally sensitive part of time. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear them. This PNM, this Keith Rowley, is an arrogant and a nasty individual. Let's face it. The country is not happy with him as a prime minister. Nowhere. And if an election call in Trinidad tomorrow, the PNM supporters turnout will be even lower than Tobago, because in Trinidad they're real vex. They vex.
I think the biggest mistake he could make right now is, and a lot of people mention it, and I say if they only try to do that, Tobagonian people already showed them they ain't stupid, and they will stick to their guns, right? The biggest mistake he could make right now is to try and stab what's Duke and the THR funds to get things done.
I say the same thing.
Big mistake.
That will be a colossal error.
And why can't that end up in a court of law for judicial review? If your last 20 years you've been giving Tobago $2.4 billion because a PNM government was at the helm, and now that the government changed, you're going to starve them for funds, why the courts don't have a say in that?
Because one of the funny things is that I've been observing Facebook today, and persons from the PNM who I once held in high esteem, I'm looking at the comments they are making on Facebook about Tobago. Leave them alone. Let them go their way. Let Duke rape everybody in Tobago. And that to me sounds very, very responsible. But more than that, it sounds like a kind of sour grapes, because
you see a partner, the Minister of Health, you see the tantrum he throw on social media. Somebody should have taken away his phone. The man say he vexed with Tobago. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine was saying, take back we boat, take back we... Listen, that's the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and Tobagonians pay taxes too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You understand? So it's Trinidad and Tobago. So a few days ago, you was promising Tobago the moon and stars.
No,
and as
you
soon
want
as
to
you
be
lost,
there.
you want to take back everything. It really doesn't make sense. It says a lot about how you really thought about the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, Steve, let me tell you, I've said this, supporters become like they follow the leader. So the same attitude that the leader has put forward, it has fall on them. It's contagious. They start to think like that person, act like that person, respond like that person. You mentioned people who you used to hold in high esteem. listen, I don't care who run the country. I always say that. I don't care if PNM run the country. I don't care if UNC run the country. I don't care who the hell run the country. Once they run it right and they run the country in the best interest of the people, I don't problem. But anybody who wants to be honest, if you're a PNM supporter and you want to be honest, this is not the PNM that you know. This is not the PNM that was around in the 1970s or the 80s. This is a total different PNM. This is not a Patrick Manning PNM. This is not, this is a totally different PNM. And it is different because of its leader. And whether people want to accept that or not,
this is a PNM really and truly out of touch with the people of Trinidad. Let me tell you something. I was doing some maths today. And 7 years ago, almost everything, today, almost everything in the grocery has doubled the price it was 7 years ago, or almost sometimes triple the price. 7 years ago, people at least had, we said all kind of thing about the UNC. We said that they were super corrupt. We said all kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the small man still had something. You had baby grant, you had computer. In a time when children need computers the most, today, this COVID period, you now have to go and beg. You had to write all kind of things just to get a computer.
Yeah.
And you're not sure to get it, right?
Yeah.
The pandemic is almost over, right? I know children under the neighbor's stairs trying to access internet in the last year or so just to be in school.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. That's sad.
What has the PNM been doing? Right? What has the PNM been doing to really address that kind of thing? They don't even know who need and who don't. Right? 1.3 million people, and you don't know who your people are? You don't know who's suffering.
Giving them a pass. No. Two of y'all giving them a pass. It's not that they're out of touch, Stephen and Stefan. It is that they do not care. They do not care. We have had ministers tell people in lines for food and grants at the height of the lockdown, the most disgusting and disrespectful things. Poor people that come out just to get a bag of food that haven't been able to work. How many businesses closed down in the country? Nobody talking about that. Trinidadians have so much false pride and shame that they ain't going to tell you they're suffering. They're ducking the landlord. They don't know how they're making the next payment to here and the next payment to there. Plenty people in this country suffering right now. The mishandling of the economy. Go ahead.
And then on top of that, you have very, very oppressive policies only put in place by the PNM. Let's examine the traffic regulations. I was looking at traffic regulations, and I was saying that something had to be wrong here. Somebody not thinking. So you want to copy the US. The most expensive, let's take New York. The most expensive traffic ticket in New York is about $600. But the average income in the US is about the same thing as us in Trinidad, in New York City. Now, if the most expensive ticket for me is about $3,000 and my income is about $4,500, how am I going to pay that? And more than that, I'm driving for a living. So if I'm driving for a living and I can't pay that and I have to pay double next month, and then I lose my license, what he's saying to me, the Minister of Works came on television a few days ago, and he said 5,000 citizens of Trinidad and Tobago stands to lose their license in the next few months.
For the merits.
Because
yes, I saw that.
Yes. And if you fight it in court, right? And you lose, they want to double the demerits,
Well, this is what I'm saying. So who's thinking all these oppressive policies? So you go to the store, a man bring a container of goods, he pay $1 for a shoe. Let's say he sell that shoe for $300. You try to go on the internet on Amazon and buy that same shoe to save yourself some money. You have now an online tax.
Yeah.
You have everything designed to keep the
And now you
small
can't get
man
US. Now you can't get
particular
US.
mole.
You can't get
And
US.
yeah. Yeah.
I
So-
made
so-
a mistake and I went online. They have a company that sells Jeep cars in Trinidad. And they put a picture of a nice Jeep. So I watch it, right? And then I watching everybody's question. Because the Jeep picture there, and everybody's question is, what's the price? What's the price? What's the price? And on every question, whoever is responding saying, check your inbox, check your inbox, check your inbox. I said to them, if it is the same price that everybody getting, post the price. Everybody asking you one
Exactly.
question. What is the price?
Yeah.
So the
What's the
only
price?
reason you could have to be telling everybody check the inbox is that you have a sliding scale of prices for different people. But forget that.
Exactly.
I just post that as a comment. Who tell me do that? They're very active and they're calling me every couple of days to try and sell me a Jeep. Enchan Ishmael asked the question, where are you getting all this foreign exchange if the average person can get a couple $100 to bring down her shoes? To buy a jersey and a pants. Go in the bank, Stephen, go in the bank and ask them. They have some banks, if you go in and ask them for US, the tellers laugh. And they're not laughing at you, they just, it's like you tell them a joke. They're not US for you. The bank manager allocation is for the bank manager friend. Who you complaining to? Who you complaining to in Trinidad?
Yeah.
The Financial Services Ombudsman? Who know who that is? When last all you see that person? That person drawing a salary. Who is that person right now? Who knows?
And that those are the problems. You see, one of the problems we have in Trinidad and Tobago, apart from all the bugbears, all the bureaucrats, the bureaucracy, one of the problems we have is accountability. So you put things in place and you have no accountability. So you say you remove
Yeah.
VAT from this, you remove VAT from that, but the businessman still doing it, he's still making money on it, he's still selling it at the same price. In fact, he raising the price and then adding and then minusing the VAT. And nobody is doing anything about it because you have no accountability.
Yes, sir. Central Bank has put out a statement as well, saying that coming the new year, look for increased prices in food, despite the removal of VAT, that expect prices to go up.
Okay, so let me
And one
ask
of the
you a
reasons for
question.
that-
We have 30,000 farmers begging for farmland to grow. We live on 13% of Trinidad. All of the land that was Caroni, all of the land that was CL Financial and Clico, all of the land that was Petrotrin, all of it. What are you doing with that land? Why are we not letting our
Philip.
farmers grow food?
Philip, I have said this before. You know, when I listen to the government budget, sometimes I had a laugh because you give the Ministry of Agriculture less than $1 billion
Yeah.
in a $40 to $50 billion budget, and your food import bill is almost 5-6 times that. Now,
Yeah.
if the things that you remove the VAT on, say, right, are all things that would cause mayhem, will kill people, diabetes, heart, stroke, oil, flour, all those things. If you had decided to give, say, farmers more money to grow food, more money to bring machinery, fishermen probably free gas to bring fish, so that fish could be half the price of what it is today.
Bossman,
would
there's a
have-
study. There's a study. The protein per pound on turkey is higher than chicken. You get a greater yield. We grow pigs. Hydroponics in Trinidad. We have a friend, Wayne Ram Trissa Hydro Farm. He is a hydroponic outfit and he supplies lettuce, cucumber, tomato are garbage bags. Stephen, analyze. Everybody who see it, just trying to get on his list. He trying to get more space to grow food. $99. If you was to buy the same thing that in his bag in Price Mart or Massey stores, you spend $300-400. He alone is a proof of concept. We have a man who's come to Victoria Foods Grab and Go and sell us a big bag of provisions. So yam, cassava, dashin, edo, all of that together. That we retailing for $25. We retailing that for $25. If I go in Massey stores and I pick up one of them styrofoam container, 2 pieces of cassava, and I $20.
Yeah.
Sweet potato and all of that. We have trapped our farmers in a black hole of not being able to grow food to supply the nation while encouraging using up our what we are told is scarce foreign exchange to bring food. Most of the vegetables that we see that we think is tropical vegetables that we see in the grocery and the market and coming from small islands. It's not even growing in Trinidad. So the point that you're making is an excellent point. That's a whole show by itself. Where is the government to take farming and food production seriously? Because that will put 30,000 people to work. That will save all the foreign exchange, $5-6 billion a year in foreign exchange. As you just said, will give people a healthy diet. National Flour Mills, let's be honest, is responsible for a large amount of diabetes in this country with that highly processed bleach white flour that is nutrition void. They have to add vitamins and minerals that at the manufacturing stage to be able to claim that it has, but it's nutrient void. This is a country that has the highest cases of stroke, heart disease, and diabetes in the Western world.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Diet and exercise. Those are the two things responsible. Lack of exercise and diet. Why are we not helping the farmers grow? Why are we not giving gyms and other organizations that help people train and exercise? Why are we not giving them incentives? Why are we not taking the VAT and the duty of exercise equipment so that people could buy treadmill in their house, buy a treadmill for your house is $15,000, you know?
Yeah. Crazy.
These are
Really
the
crazy.
things that the government, but
Something is telling me that somebody's not thinking. Is either that or is a plan?
or they don't care. They do not care.
Look.
They do not care. Stephen, Trinidad has the highest deaths per million in the world for COVID-19 right now. And there are people telling me, I have nurses telling me, Philip, we're using Remdesivir and forcing it on patients to the point where we're wiping out their kidneys and their liver and other organs because it is a drug that is very, very serious. It's almost chemotherapy. It is very, very serious. Nurses telling me, doctors telling me, it's not COVID killing people in the hospital, you know, it's our treatment killing people in the hospital. Trinidadians, when you get COVID, if you end up in the you know, people just hide and pretend they don't have it because they're afraid of the hospital. Look at the numbers. Look at our rates. Look at this.
Yeah.
They're saving lives the world over.
Yeah.
Somebody give me this empty box. Ivermectin. The Citizens Union offered the government.
They refuse to use it.
We said we will give you 10,000 pills. We have members who are willing to give us the pills to give the government to save lives. Try it, test it, run it for a week and see.
No, they want to wait on the World Health Organization and whoever else, whether it's Fauci or whoever, to say, yeah, go ahead. That is, you see, and there's our next problem we have in this country. And thank God Tobago will handle their own affairs. I've been saying it since about 8 or 9 months now. Are we not, as a region, I go on regionally now, do we not have enough doctors, enough scientists to assess this virus and then come up with a solution, an independent solution outside of what we've been advised? You're telling me we don't have the proper infrastructure as a region, as CARICOM, to deal with that collectively
and they're quick to say you're a sovereign nation. Why is our sovereignty seconded to medical institutions outside? It's not working. It's not working.
Exactly.
It's not working. But this is what we're doing. And it goes back accountability. Steve mentioned accountability, right? And I mentioned this the other night when we had Dr. Rajiv Sriram on. This pandemic is now being used as the excuse, the scapegoat, for years and years of mismanagement of public funds. The health sector.
Exactly.
He's talking about agriculture. There's no. Remember, Philip, I mentioned this, and you know this, and Steve know this. It's not now during the pandemic you can't get a bed in the hospital. People couldn't get a bed in the hospital for years.
Right.
Pre-COVID-19. I fed up get calls on that step on my aunt in the hospital. They in Mount Hope and they had sleeping on a chair in a corridor. This is going on long time. So what is happening now is we are allowing, because that's how we just think in our box. So we are allowing them to create the narrative, be in control of the narrative, and use the pandemic as an excuse for mismanaging billions of dollars. And I'm just talking about this administration. We're talking about successive administrations who allocate billions of dollars to healthcare.
Stefan, talk Africa.
And where we at?
Talk Africa, because Africa and there's 6% and there's 6% vaccine uptake. People don't know it's 1.4 billion Africans, you know. 6%, 6% vaccine uptake, they are the lowest COVID in the world. And I'm asking people, explain it. Somebody make a mistake and tell me they chewing ivermectin there like candy. I say, well, give it away in Trinidad. It didn't work in there.
Give it away.
Oh gosh, come on.
But you know,
Stephen, you asked.
I don't want to stray from
too far from the politics. We'll come back and do. I feel we gotta come back and do a show on that.
No, but Philip, is an important part that you raised here, because Stephen raised it too. Accountability. We mentioned the Sea Bridge a while ago. We had the Prime Minister and another minister leave, jump on a plane, fly to Australia, and just spend taxpayers' money just so no procurement, nothing at all. All remember that? They just go on Australia and say, well, we go buy this to work. That it won't work so.
Where was the procurement for the new jet? Where's the procurement for the new jet that just touched down? Somebody asked me whose name that leasing.
We were outside the Red House today. The $440 million Red House, where the roof leaking. The roof still leaking. Who responsible for that? Who answering for that? $440 million you spend, and you still have a leaking roof.
And that is
a year. 5 billion a year on public health, 48 ambulance and 51 ICU beds. If we didn't call them out on social media, they would have get away with this stupid narrative that 96% of the ICU full. And people didn't realize what 96% meant was 50 bed for 1.4 million people.
Tobago have six ICU beds, a population of 50-something thousand people. Just absorb that for 1 second. And you just bill how much hospital they bill. How much hospital they built before the pandemic in Tobago? You only have 6 ICU beds?
You could just go around Trinidad and Tobago and itemize it from roads to housing to government buildings to everything.
So pull it back to the politics. Let me ask a question then. And we will use this as our closing comments because after 10. Right? So both of you. You could answer this and then you could give me a closing comments. If somebody's still thinking of voting PNM, after all of that, my question is, why? Why?
Well, let me just say this. I'm a professional and I believe that a company, you measure a company by the performance. Why not measure a government by the same measurements? Your performance. What is the standard of living for your people? What does your people have to say about the service they got in your tenure? What have we to show in terms of how far we've reached? How, not the buildings, forget about the buildings. What have you done for your people? Are more people give them water? Right now, a significant part of Laventille is without water for the last 4 days.
But they went and cut ribbon for a standpipe the other day, Stephen. Now you don't want no water.
Yeah. Our roads. when you give a contractor $2 billion to build a road, and he built it the next year, the road is the same way as it was when he first built it. What guarantees do we have? Who are we holding accountable for that? These are the questions one have to ask, and I'm certain those were the questions the Begonians asked. And I'm almost sure.
So it brings me back to my question. If you vote in PNM after everything you just said, what could be the reason? If you know you have to live with that for the next 5 years, no food, no water, no, the bank's raping you, you will never own a home, you could probably never own a car, you can get a loan to play mass, but you can't get a job. Why? Why? You said food doubled in the past 24 months. Your salary, if you still have a job, didn't. Why would you have a reason to vote PNM?
And that's the question. That's the question. Well, and that's the question a lot of people had to ask yourself. Voting for somebody, and I think Tobago asked itself, what do we have to lose? We have nothing to lose for voting for Dr. If you vote Duke, and Duke did the worst that he could ever do, he still do better than the PNM. You have nothing to lose.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
No. You want me to answer that question, Philip?
If you could.
All right. Okay. I agree with Steve on a lot of points that he just made, because I see it nearly every day. When you are electing a political party into government, you have to ask yourself, forget who is African, forget who's Indian, forget who in between. It have absolutely nothing to do with race. It have to do with you. You, your life, your standard of living. Are you living a better life? Do you have a better standard? You have a better standard of living under the governance that you have just experienced over the 5-year period that this political party was in power. And if my life is better over that 5 years, do I need to make a change? You're supposed to elect or cast your vote on merit and performance. We tend to forget that. Now, when you're talking about why vote PNM, you got to ask yourself, why vote UNC too? And I'll tell you why. I don't see it as PNM UNC. I see it as PNM financiers versus UNC financiers. Because it is the financiers that the political party and the politicians are beholden to. And the thing that kills this country is the greed of a select few that cannot get enough. They want all. They want all. ALL. Is Espine spell it out so? They want all, and nothing for you. So they give you the crumbs, and they eat the big money on top. And the wealth not spreading to Trinidad and Tobago. It's not spreading at all. You remember the video that you sent, you shared with Steve Harvey in United Arab Emirates?
United Arab Emirates.
He said the people that created this didn't do it in 50 years because they had money. They did it in 50 years because they wanted better for the people.
Indeed.
So if you have to vote, you have to vote for who you think is going to give you a better life, who is genuinely for the people. But until we have things like campaign finance reform, be in problems. Because it's the financiers.
Stefan, I tell
financiers.
No, but in situations where when you look and the same Calco that get fired from Maracas Beach, get the under UNC, get the contract under PNM.
Exactly.
Men whose names calling as the financiers of Keith Rowley's PNM make hundreds of millions under the UNC. How do you come to the people and tell them African and Indian when the same people feeding, regardless of which one of them in office?
So this is the question I ask. Why it is Trinidadians are not seeing that they are peas in a pod? It's the same thing. Goes in, goes out.
Yeah. We have to demand
I think the next election in Trinidad going to be something like what took place in Tobago. The government, this PNM government, if they hope to win an election in this country again, they had to go in that parliament and declare everyday Christmas for the next 5 years. Just treat people nice.
Let me ask all your question now. Based on the question you just asked, why would you vote PNM again? Right? This is for both of you. Would it depend on the person and the health? And if so, let's say there is no Keith Rowley. Let's say there is no Kamla Prasad Bissessar. Who is the person that have all the leadership qualities that could take Trinidad and Tobago forward? Realistically, who do we have right now?
I told Marsha this.
If you have a problem, you have a solution.
It's not the personality at the top. And I told Marsha Walker this. I say, you are telling me that you do not support the corruption and you don't support the financier kickback bacchanal. But what you think pay for your jersey? What you think pay for the flag? What you think paying for the music truck? What you think paying for all 1,000 ads? It doesn't make a part of a difference if Penelope Beckles is running the PNM, if that PNM had a $300 million election paid for by financiers who are looking for a double and a triple return.
Come back to the same point I make question.
You are not meaning there is nothing new. If you change the driver in that car and the car is working, is a new driver in a bad car? The experience
one thing Watson Duke have taught us in the last 48 hours is that all of that is changing.
Yeah.
And a political campaign will no longer be run by financiers, but by the will of the people.
And I was about to ask, remember Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders was running a campaign based on contributions from the population.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That could happen in Trinidad.
Yeah.
You think the people of Trinidad would finance? Yeah.
Stefan, I want to ask you a question. Let me say this and then answer it. Stephen, you can answer it too after, but I'm asking Stefan for a reason. Colm Imbert is your Minister of Finance. Faris Al-Rawi is your Attorney General. Terence Dial Singh is your Minister of Health. Fitzgerald Hines is your Minister of National Security. Shamfa Kujo is your Minister of Sport. How? Where in the world could that much incompetence be your cabinet?
No comment.
Let me, Stefan, let me help you. It has been said that the politicians don't really run the country. The country is run by technocrats behind the scene. But the politicians make the policies. And direct that. And what we have in Trinidad and Tobago over the years is, to a large extent, that Eric Williamson, Joe, people that crap in until we will vote for it.
Yeah.
The people don't choose their leaders under the PNM. The PNM leadership, the PNM General Council, or whoever they choose it. So whatever they give you, if you are a sycophant of the PNM or the UNC, that's what you're working with. And that's what you have been indoctrinated in you. That is what have been going on for the last few years, and that is what, to a large extent, dictates what happens in the politics. So nobody critically thinking, nobody have any expertise in anything, we just like you and we put you on.
Stephen, if nobody challenging you for your job, if you number one and there are nobody else number two, if your job safe regardless, if you show up, if you don't show up, you win, you don't win. They have no competition for what you do. I mean, seriously, let's be honest. The track record of Colm Imbert as Minister of Finance, the best thing that happened to Colm Imbert is COVID, Colm Imbert destroyed Trinidad's economy. By 2019, we was already talking to the IMF. Tell me if I lie, because COVID was the best.
COVID is a scapegoat. COVID is a scapegoat that politicians all over the world use it.
Nobody talking about the world. I'm talking about Trinidad and Tobago. I
the
talk
economy
about
was
Trinidad and
going to
Tobago.
crash.
But you know what's the good thing about the Tobago experience, though? Because what you just say about Crapo in Abalizetai, the PNM thought Tobago so worse than Laventille. Because
Yeah, but
I
you know what I
watch
didn't realize? Crapo Green.
Green Crapo. I watch
Green.
Nylon Hippolyte. I watch Nylon Hippolyte as the incumbent in Laventille West get 26 of 29 party groups say they want Nylon as their member of parliament, and they move him and foist Fitzgerald Hines.
Yeah.
So where the democracy in that PNM?
And this is what we
thought
said. This is
Guys,
exactly what we said.
Yeah.
I don't have to go. The
listen,
show
to
don't
be
have
honest,
to end. I just telling you all because Stefan gave us 20 minutes an hour ago.
well, no, my 20
so,
minutes is long.
brother, you
my
can
20
talk as much as you
no.
want. I just giving you all the
That's why
time.
I know why. That's why I know why. I can't say you only have 20 minutes, because I'm telling you, that's why I know why, Philip. All right, but I will tell you this. I will tell you this though. It have good people in the PNM. It have good people in the PNM. Adrian Leons is a real
Very good.
down
Very
to
good.
earth,
Down to gentleman.
real cool down to earth fella. You could walk up to Adrian Leons and have a conversation with that brother. That brother will sit down and talk to you. Real cool, real good on the level. But he has no say in the party. No say
But
He
at
has
all.
no
He
support.
Worse than
He has
that.
no support
Stefan,
from
and he has no
sources.
support.
Stefan, worse
Nothing.
than that. The Bible say the upholder worse than the thief. If you are a good person, you are no business in PNM. If you in PNM and you see what's going on, and you see how poor people catching their ass, you know who I respect? Michael Phillips. When Michael Phillips resigned as head of sport TT, tell the minister I signed up for this. I didn't sign up for this. And he gone.
You see, this is where, and as always say, the opposition has no strategy. If I was an opposition leader, I would have turned my attention away from the Keith Rowleys and the Coleman Woods and the Stuart Youngs and the Faris Al-Rawis and start hitting people like the Adrian Leons, the good people in the party that have no say. But here we don't know if they can stand up to public scrutiny and what they go do.
Does the
If they stand
UNC
against
have,
public scrutiny,
You looking to
So,
destroy
yeah,
them
when
good
you-
people, buddy.
does the
No.
UNC
When you-
have the moral
destroy them
authority
good
to
people.
question? Does
You're
the
calling
UNC
them
have
out,
the
you're
moral
calling them out.
authority? Stefan?
No, they don't
Does
have
the
the moral,
UNC have
but
the
that's
moral
one of the
authority?
reasons. But my point is, you're not going to drag a name through the dirt, because there's good people. But you're going to start saying, but look at the good people all you have over there, and they're so silent on this. For how they could sit down and be a part of this, and you shine the light on them in that kind of way, and make them dig a horrors.
Would you
People have
tell?
the eye on them now.
Would you tell Marsha?
They
Would
had
you tell
something.
Marsha Walker that you put Marsha Walker on the political map when you interviewed her on your show when she was writing that
Yeah,
first
boy.
book? Would
Yeah,
you
Marsha.
tell Marsha? Would you tell her that? Because that's what I tell her every time. She's getting vexed with me when I tell her. I say, but you cannot tell me you're going to hell for a heavenly cause. The only thing that in hell is hell. You can't. Lesser evil politics is.
You see, these season campaigners, they could take the public scrutiny. They don't care. It's like Philip said, they don't care. They don't care what you say about them. They don't care. They don't care they don't care what print in the papers, what the radio announcers say, what the callers say, what the TV personality. They don't care. But
They
the
don't
people
listen.
like the Adrian Leon Sunday, who is good people, they care. So you have to
Listen,
pressure
guys.
them.
Guys, I want
Gotta
to
pressure
take the discussion back to Tobago.
Uh,
You know, one of the opportunity that Tobago has, or the politicians in Tobago know, is that they are all new. And what they need to do really is to sit and put plans in place for generations to come. Not necessarily plans that are for just their term, So plan, like what Singapore did. Plan this thing.
We're having a little difficulty with Stephen's connection, Satish.
Oh. Yeah, they need planning. Because Tobago, listen, Tobago is a beautiful island. Tobago is supposed to be the jewel of the Caribbean. I always say that. Tobago is supposed to be the place you go to relax and get entertainment. The tourist entertainment capital of the Caribbean.
You just be going good, and then you just take a 180 degrees and lose where you should have gone. In Mexico, in Cabo, they have, you know, people just talk about 5-star hotels. They have places in Mexico with 6- and 7-star hotels. When a hotel has 7 stars, they have people in there with engineering and medical degree that working as staff, just because of the experience and the amount of money that they could make in those hotels. I'll ask you a question. Tobago not just supposed to be a place where you go and stick your foot in the sand. Tobago has never been developed as a tourist destination.
Yeah.
You tell me, and I tell people this all the time, there is only one nylon pool on planet Earth.
Yeah,
one in Tobago. The largest brain coral in the world, Tobago. Oldest open world forest. You know it's Tobago's forest that drafted the legislation that protects Yellowstone Park in America? Bucco Reef. Do you know that jetty with the little hut at the end of Pigeon Point, that image has become globally, iconically recognized as the symbol of a tropical destination? Tobago is bar none. When you see those other destinations, it is because the country, the government, spends money on the quality of the sand, on keeping the waters clean. Tobago has never been treated with the respect that Tobago deserves, and that is why Tobagonians live on THA handouts. But if this THA, because I want to tell you, the Bucco Reef is being destroyed by the glass bottom boats dragging their anchors across the reef. They're supposed to have a floating anchorage where the boats could pull up and tie without damaging the reef below, because you're literally killing the goose that lay in the golden egg. And it's things like that we know, we have this information. Tobago National Security, the Range Rover crew, moving cocaine. They have information that if I have it, the Ministry of National Security is supposed to have it. What is going on in Tobago now? And when I opened, I said this. If Farley and Watson Duke and the rest of them serious, I am calling on them. I gave them all honeymoon. But I'm calling for an audit of the THA for the last 21 years. Bring back Orville London. Let him answer. That is the reality that we have to all.
Last time Farley said it have no honeymoon. It's get to move one time. So
if that is true, audit the THA. Audit it. Because I'm telling you, every constituency in this country gets between $110 and $150 million in the budget. The 2 constituencies in Tobago East and Tobago West, get $1.2 billion each through the THA, $2.4 billion subvention every year. Where are money going?
Yeah.
Because everything else that billing in Tobago, central government and the consolidated fund billing that. So what is that $2.4 billion used for in Tobago? Stephen?
I am clueless.
Audit THA. Farley and Watson Duke have an opportunity right now to get all the things that we've been talking about and try to prosecute wrongdoers. If Watson Duke serious, if Farley Augustine serious, audit THA.
And what's important is that they have the majority to be able to do certain things. I am not aware of the extent to which the Tobago House of Assembly, the act that governs the Tobago House of Assembly, allows them to do that. But I am almost certain with the kind of majority they have, they can certainly do a lot in terms of developing a new system, in terms of developing, in terms of investigating what has gone.
You talk organization structure. Within an organization that is capable of receiving $2.4 billion every year for 21 years, you have to have built into that an audit capacity. Account for
Yes,
money.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's all I added. Continue as you're going.
Another thing that
Satish, Stefan, audio.
Another thing they should do as well. You hear me?
Yes.
How much people employed by the THA? And dependent
I think it's about 70% of the people.
That's what they say,
Right.
about 70%.
It would be nice if they could develop other private sector industries and kind of ease the burden off for the THA in terms of employment too.
It wasn't so. It is the last
maybe,
21
I don't know.
years
Maybe
that
that's that, yeah.
Stefan, it wasn't so. You drove them out of business. They were doing their little guest house. They was doing guest house. They was doing restaurant. Tobago was beautiful. Tobago was beautiful and unspoiled. And you could have gone stay in a guest house and you could have eat at little restaurants all over Tobago and have a nice time. The best pizza, pizza in Trinidad, La Cantina, that come from Tobago. That come here from Tobago.
What Tobago may need at this time is just to dovetail on the point that Stefan was making. It's probably a human resource audit to understand some of the devolution issues with respect to what is in THA, who stays in THA, what is feeding off at THA. The THA at this time, the Tobago House of Assembly at this time, and what's in Duke, and they really need to do a serious plan, a set of planning as to how we move forward for the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
PNM set up THA as a voter bank. THA is a voter bank. That's what that handle is.
That's why I make the point. How much people dependent on the THA for work? Because all right, look at places like WASA. Look at state-run companies like WASA in Trinidad and Tobago that they overstaff, plenty duplication of staff, specific job types, and you have thousands of workers that probably a good few of them you don't need. If you understand where I'm coming from, which is a bigger burden on WASA's pocket and expenditure. That money could have gone to something else. It could have gone to upgrading some of the infrastructure we have to get water to people in particular areas. So I'm saying is every burden is eased on the THA, and they could create other private sector industry.
What you're talking about is initiatives. Well, what you're talking there is about initiative. Yeah, those initiatives are important to put people back to work and owning their own businesses. I used to go to Tobago. They used to have a place called, I swear, it was called International Pancakes, or International House of Pancakes. I swear that was the name. A little place on the side of the road. If rain fall, it wet you. But they used to try so hard to give you a nice service and their own homemade syrup and thing. I don't know if that still exists. It was right there close to Pigeon Point. I don't know if that still exists, but I'm saying that was the unspoiled charm of Tobago. We have some stories coming out of Tobago. I would like an audit of the whole history of the Milsherv complex. I'd like to know what really went on there. Because if you hear the story of Milsherv and what went on there and the back and forth in those transactions, these are important issues, because when money in any situation, any circumstance, in any country is misappropriated or spent badly, it takes away from exactly what you're asking for, creating opportunity. Everything we've spoken tonight, as we touch on it, we realize the solution is the human resource. Give the people the opportunity to do it and let them do it. The farmers, the people in Tobago. I mean, you asked earlier, and I just wanted to give you this because Satish sent this. 26,474 people voted, 51% in the 6-6 tie. And it increased to 29,273 votes in the 57% that took place last night.
All people came.
So there
So
was
it
an
means that the persons who would have voted for the PNM in the past at that time now voted for the PDP.
Could be that. Could very well be that. I think
That's
they
interesting.
bounced their head. I think they bounced their head at how they handle that, and how they handle that 6-6 tie, and how they handle the breaking up of the districts. It was all high-handed and arrogant.
You feel,
The boss on
you
the
feel,
average.
you feel, the- you feel the address to the nation. You think the Prime Minister's address to the nation had a part to play in it? Remember he came and he addressed the nation and he ended up giving us a 45-minute vaccine ad, right? People thought he was
The
actually
whole house.
coming.
Which one? The one in the suit or the whole house
No.
one?
He wanted his suit where he sit down looking like Cookie Monster from Monster.
Simpson. That was an ad
That
for
one,
Simpson's
yeah,
funeral.
that one. Yeah, because a lot of people was like, when they addressed the nation, they thought he coming to address crime and things, and different issues in
His
Trinidad.
revisionist history of the pandemic in Trinidad.
Right, and then mention this is the one that fought here, and I think this gets to be good. Maybe a little extent. He mentioned Australia, and we all know what's taking place in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I say this to tell you that if the government of Trinidad and Tobago has to implement such measures, it will not be because we're dictatorial, right? But because we have to act in the best interest of people. I think that scares a lot of people, No, I serious, because when you look at the hesitancy you have in Tobago in terms of vaccination,
Stefan,
and you come in to make that in addressing the nation, I think that might scare a lot of people because we all know what's you stand on that.
You remember?
I think that.
No, you're absolutely no.
I think
That's
it was
no little
bad
thing.
timing.
But that's
I
part
think it
of
was
the
bad
thing.
timing.
Stephen saying that from the start, that the man just comes across as arrogant and a bully and a thug. He comes across like a thug. He's always threatening you. He's never understanding you. He's never reaching out to you.
I tell somebody today with that kind of links, if he never buy alcohol and cigarettes before, but he sure buy it this morning.
Because in a house somewhere.
It's 14-1, It's 14-1, partner.
That one is 15-0,
that
that one was a consolation.
That kind of Alexander no one worry.
That kind of Alexander.
It was no one.
I mean, look. A lot of people might they turned off from Prime Minister, some of his antics and his arrogance, his insulting language, his bullying, they will tell you he's a bully.
His rage,
I think
his hate, a man totally out of control. Remember them words?
Yes. Patrick Manning warned us. And my thing
but it's no joke. This is what the man really is. He's a man totally out of control.
All right. But do you think, in your humble opinion, personal opinion, right, that he is going to check himself now?
I think he's just arrogant. I don't think so. I think they will try to do exactly what the supporters in Trinidad dictate.
Let them put away.
Staff Tobago punish them for what they did, and that
can't do that. You can't do that. Stephen, I am telling you now. I'm telling Watson, Duke, and Farley. That's what the court is for. Judicial review. If he was giving us $2.4 billion for the last 20 years when PNM was the administration, you can't take that money back now. You can't.
I am simply saying, if this man is from Tobago, born of the soil of Tobago, is Prime Minister of Trinidad and has lost his HE. Right? How many times has PNM lost his HE? It's your politics.
Nah, probably. You remember before
Ho
20
Choi
years ago?
Charles.
Yeah, before 20 years ago was Ho Choi Charles and them guys.
Ho Choi
So
Charles.
Right.
PNM really didn't.
But then in that
PNM
law,
really
PNM
didn't
had
have
it
comfortable
unbroken for 21 years. 21 years
Mhm.
unbroken.
Yeah.
right. You have lost the with a reductive political. Coming off the back of just the election in August 11. Coming off the back of a 6 time. Coming off the back of creating 3 extra seats by splitting one of your stronghold areas in 3.
To try and get
You lost
two.
that and all. You can't get. You couldn't get 43. Right?
The man say,
If
Stefan, the man knows
if
like
this don't make you, if this, no, if you as a leader of anything, whether it's a political party, whether it's the government of Trinidad and Tobago, prime minister, if you don't reflect and check yourself after this, well, I don't know what. You can't
in the
come on-
strongest tenets of Westminster, what Keith Rowley is supposed to do is to dissolve Parliament and seek
I
a
just about
fresh
that.
mandate. That is not just a lost election. That is a complete rejection by the voting public. The population has said, get out. The joke we making, it is a planners, it's a cutters, it is exorcism. The fact of the matter is, those kind of numbers supposed to send you back to the national polls. That's
Well,
where
I
we're
was about
supposed
to
to.
ask. I was about to ask your answer on that. Because I really stubborn enough to stay there.
It's gonna get worse.
I do.
No, it's gonna get worse. I'll
And-
tell you why it's gonna get worse. You see the people who call people for pushback? Now if they call them out, 20,000 people going out, 50,000 people going out. Because
Well, what-
Trinidad, the PNM is mortally wounded now, you know. This is not a chink. They are hemorrhaging now. People looking, their financiers thinking now, get out, take a thing and go, because everybody at risk now. This prime minister is badly damaged. This is not you lost THA. This is a political annihilation to the level that nobody has seen since 1986 with 33. This is worse than that.
PNM don't normally or naturally see things like that. What is going to happen is that we're going to have the local government election. And when that happens, the local government election will give the PNM a good barometer as to how the temperature of the people in Trinidad and Tobago. I suspect that they're going to lose that. And when that happens, there's going to be an implosion, and the leader...
They won't call it.
Yeah, no, they're not going to call it. They won't call it.
They're not calling local government. They're not
Wait,
constitution. It's too easy. Manning put it off 6 times. For 6 years. It's too easy to find a reason to put off local government election, and they're not calling that after THA. Constitutional
When the
review
internal election due?
in PNM,
Yeah.
prime ministers never up, their seat never up for grabs in an internal election if they are in an incumbency.
Okay.
Yeah, but you will have the conventions, and at the convention,
Convention.
those
But you
kind
can't
of
challenge
things
the
can happen.
political leader. The political leader is the prime minister. If he is
But
incumbent, you
it
can't.
don't usually happen. But you see, I don't know if you remember what happened to Manon after he lost the 2010 elections. I could see something like that happening. If the
Yeah, but
PNM
that's after a loss.
just
That's
now,
after a loss.
if the PNM calls a local government election and they lose the same way like they lose in Tobago, then they will have less of a moral authority to prevent something from that from happening.
And this is why I'm saying to you, they are not going to call a local government election. That is not on the cards. 2020 election,
Well, you know,
now remember,
lose, eh? Wait,
Stefan,
you know,
you remember,
people, eh? Wait, hold on. You know that's a lose-lose, Steve.
What do you mean?
If they call a local, if they call a local government election and they lose the local government election, well, you know that woman that can win an election, you know she ain't moving.
Yeah, but she not winnable either.
She ain't gonna move because she go say what? I win a local. I had to stay here. I the next prime minister. I'm telling you, we lost.
You are assuming.
So
You are assuming. No.
What make you feel we have only elections? Stefan,
What makes you think that for that local government election, Stefan?
what make you
what
feel
make
that
you
we have
think
only
PNM and
local
UNC?
government elections? You're
Well,
sounding like there's only
at the
PNM and
moment-
UNC around.
Thank you, Stephen.
Brother, there are
all
a lot
right,
of
all
things-
right, all right.
There's
all right.
life.
There are a lot of
There's
things on the
life
ground.
outside
Stick up in,
Brother.
stick up in.
You're not aware of.
Let me stick up in. Go ahead, Ole, go ahead, Philip, you're saying something. Let me stick up in.
No, I'm
I
just
was
saying
going
that.
to say what Stephen just said, so let Stephen continue.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the complexion of the society at this time
Different.
may not necessarily accommodate both the UNC or the PNM.
Okay.
People out for both. UNC still have their planners to get the people that finished with Kamala.
You think
They're
you
not-
think the electorate in Trinidad and Tobago reach that kind of maturity?
I think they have.
That is the lesson of Tobago. That is the lesson of that election last night. That is what has changed in Trinidad and Tobago. The impossible is now possible. A small 6-year-old third party decimate the incumbent, despite the incumbent spending hundreds of millions of dollars to buy, bribe, and cajole votes. Despite all of the threats and the unspoken, if all you don't vote PNM, well, you know you might be in trouble, kind of nonsense. None of that worked. None of it worked. And what Trinidad's seeing now, Trinidad woke up different today, you know. Trinidad police, different today. Trinidad army, different today. Trinidadians, different today. The PNM is no longer mythical. Remember when Germany beat Brazil in the football?
Yeah.
How it shattered the illusion that Brazil was unbeatable?
Yeah.
That's what happened here. The
Yeah, but how
illusion of
long-
the PNM.
How long is that going to last?
PNM
You know
PNM
Yes,
is no
yes.
longer infallible.
PNM is no longer infallible. Stephanie just asked a question. I want to tell you something. One of two things going to happen here. Keith Rowley going to be advised by people who's going to get him to be Father Christmas for the next 2-3 years, or he is going to double down with his arrogance, which I suspect he is going to throw the mother of all tantrums, and he is going to go from blunder to blunder as his failed Minister of Finance further destroys this economy, and the Minister of Health who crying all over the place, but not stopping to see how much people, his failure and the 5 OJTs with him, how much people dying on their watch. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are going to... David Abdullah had said something to me once and I never forget. When things going against you, wet brown paper could cut you. Everything the PNM make a mistake with now, the people going and record. Mark that.
I'm marking it. I'm marking it. See me back up that?
I agree with that 100%.
Boy, I pray Trinidadian people here. I know confident Trinidadian people. No, seriously.
But again,
Trinidadian.
but
No, I'm
Stefan,
telling
people
you,
said Tobago unmovable.
Listen,
Stefan,
I would love to see that we get rid, because I just always say it had 2 viruses and it's in COVID. One red and one yellow, right? It's 2 viruses. Good? And we had to get rid of the 2 viruses. So I don't know if ivermectin could agree with that.
And
But we had to get rid of...
because enough of us are saying the same thing, I can almost guarantee you that if an election is called today in Trinidad, the same thing that happened in Tobago last night will happen today in Trinidad.
I hope.
Because enough of us
I hope
say
he
that.
get cocky. No, I was going to tell you just now, Stefan. You remember 2020? He called that. That was about 6 months before it was constitutionally due when he dissolved that parliament. Well, remember what was going on in East Port of Spain? How bad it had gotten. Gunfire in broad daylight with the police and gang members. And rumors that they was coming to burn down town. And next thing I know, Parliament dissolved. This is a different Trinidad today. They have to watch each other in that cabinet and ask themselves, do we have the ability to govern now? Will people take us seriously? How many people you know listen to Keith Rowley in any of his press conferences? The same amount who listen to him in Scotland. Nobody.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this, as you was making that point, and Stephen, you could give my thoughts on it. They have to realize, and I think what you all saying in terms of the country being fed up and looking for something different. We got to take this into consideration. In August, you won an election, regardless of what people want to think. Whether they, some people will say they steal the election, whatever. They win the election, right? That was in August. Now we was in a pandemic. Cases was low, deaths were low. All right. Now it's a different dynamic. Okay. They have thrown the kitchen sink at promoting the vaccinations, right? And I make this point, I bring that in to mention this. Every media host, every radio station, they pelting one set of ads all over the place, social media everywhere, you call it, you name it, promoting these vaccinations. This is from a government who just won an election in August. Good? And 55% of the country has rejected your vaccines. 55%. And I was mentioning this to Philip earlier today. The 45% that did accept it, about 15 to 20% of that, of those people probably did it reluctant. Or they didn't do it to protect them from getting sick, but rather because they want to travel, or they want to go here or there or get access to wherever, right?
Or they want to,
so
or they want to work.
Or they want to work.
Or they want to keep their job. So they were backed in our corner. Now, if you could throw all that money, and I say this to compare to what just happened in Tobago, because you just spent one set of money, one set of ads in Tobago too, and Tobago rejected too. So in my mind,
you're making the point.
I think, yeah,
you're making the point.
In my mind, now that I'm comparing it like that, I could see where the majority of the country really saying new mandate. It's time for a new mandate.
That's a second failure. When you come to tell people vaccine hesitancy, it's not vaccine hesitancy. The people don't trust your Minister of Health. They don't trust your Minister of Health. Listen, your whole stunt on a Saturday with Abdul Richards and Avery Hines and Trotman and Parashram, the public rejected that. They don't trust it. You have people outside there like Jab and them telling people, if you don't take the vaccine, you're going to end up in the hospital and dying. People telling themselves, I'm going to take my chances, I don't trust them.
And people still, and that's the thing, people still saying, look, I don't hear me listen to you because
I'm taking my chances.
They don't trust them. And Tobagonians did not trust them with their vote.
So let's ask this again. Let me ask you again.
Yeah?
Who has confidence that Fitzgerald Hines knows what he is doing as Minister?
I have none.
Nobody.
I got no confidence.
Do a poll. Who has confidence that Colm Imbert know what he's doing with the economy? Nobody.
Yeah.
Clarence Rambarat is Minister of Agriculture and Food Production 6 years now, and all that I know that he grows a hedge outside Balize House. Atto Boland at Trinbagonian have Jamaicans at the highest level of world sport. Atto Boland.
Yeah.
We couldn't hire him. We have Shamfa Kujo. Who thinks Shamfa Kujo knows what she's doing? Who in this country? Who in this country, after every single law that he has passed in the parliament has been rubbished in the courts, Who thinks that Faris Al-Rawi is a capable or competent attorney general? Who? Who understands why Stuart Young gets a salary? You understand these questions? These are the questions now that the public was on the periphery of their minds before, but now they're saying, but wait now. I don't trust Terence Leal saying. I don't trust call members. And this is my family and my safety and my security and my ability to work and earn a living and feed my family. The government, if it doesn't face the reality that it no longer has the moral authority, it will fall. And what Trinidad needs to do is start working to be building the alternatives if they don't want what used to be the lesser evil, exchange. It's time for real change.
I think what happened in August, right? Because still trying to figure out. In January, you tie 6 weeks. You come and you get a quotas now in December of 2020. How the hell you win Tobago in August? I still trying to figure that out, you know. How they managed to win Tobago in August? If just a few months later, you tie 6-6, and then you get quotas in December 2021.
Stefan, this is what I'm trying to tell. This is what I'm trying to explain. This is what I'm trying to explain to Paulo Kernahan's post this morning about viable alternatives. And I had to tell somebody on our own internal Progressive Empowerment Party cabinet chair, and I had to say, listen, not to downplay 50,000 people voting in Tobago is different to 1.1 million people voting at election time in a general election. It's different.
Yeah, but I talk specifically Tobago. The 2 seats in Tobago. PDP, remember PDP didn't win a seat in Tobago.
That was Duke and Burris. That was Duke and Burris run for those 2 seats.
It was Burris? Yeah, I think so. In the general election in August.
Did Duke run for one?
Yes, Duke went up, didn't he?
And the girl run for the other one.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember? But okay, but
I'm trying to assess.
No. Your question is wrong. But what you have to understand is what changed was people realize I should have voted for them after they see what the PNM has done in the past year and a half. That's what went on in people's minds. I should have taken a chance with PDP.
You see, I'm trying to assess if it had something to the low numbers in the pandemic that people trust that the institution was in the right hand at the time, and that is why they would have swing that way.
I think Kid Rowley and the PNM scare people away.
If it was a matter of after putting people into lockdowns, well, we didn't really go through no drastic lockdowns, but little restrictions and business schools that come in with the same old-time strategy in an election, giving people handouts to get a vote. If that was enough to sway people to vote
every time I put you on a panel. No, every time I put you on a panel, I was telling you we had to come back and continue this because we always leave so many things hanging. But we've been here now for nearly 2 hours, and I know you have a show in the morning.
Before I go, let me get Steve's thoughts. Steve, you think what is this change between August and December?
Stephen.
Stephen.
I think we're losing Stephen.
No,
what? Yeah, are we hearing him? I am now. What you think? What do you think changed between August and December?
I think what has happened between August and now is that the people in Tobago realize that the same hand you dealt me in August, you did not, to a large extent, carry out what you said you was going to do or what you wanted to do. Okay. And that people began to realize that, listen, you're telling me you're doing this. You're telling me you want to do this. But we're not seeing you doing it. So now that we have these elections, and you are
And an
saying
option.
to me, right? And an option, a good option, and you are saying to me, well, it really doesn't matter what the option was, but you're saying to me that you're going to do X, Y, and Z. We really don't trust you again.
We didn't leave,
So
didn't leave last time.
let me throw caution to the wind and just give the option the opportunity. This is what happened.
Guys, we have to stick up in now. We gotta bring this to a close. Stefan, I feel like I spend the whole day with you. Candlelight movement, serving petition. We start up in the hot sun. I still trying to get over that. Guys, I really appreciate.
Let me just say something. Just about earlier today, right? I just want to say this to the viewers tonight. I know a lot of people was posting on social media, sending on WhatsApp. We grand charge and we create a hype just for attention. What we doing with the petitions? How all them delivered yet? And all the waste of time. And I got a few messages like that, well. And I take it with a heavy heart. But as I explained today when we were outside the Red House, and I want to just touch on it now, very quickly. It wasn't a matter of us not following through. It was a matter of us having to think and assess the right strategy and decision. And as God would have it, I think it was delivered on the right day at the right time.
Indeed.
All right?
Agreed.
Yes, so he did slow us down, the restrictions slow us down. But I always say everything that's happened for a reason. And Philip could tell you this. Philip was antsy, more antsy than anybody. No, we can't wait till Monday. We go get lost in the storm and the election and Tobago this. And listen, I telling all the things when we was in chat, in the WhatsApp group chat. And Philip wanted to deliver this thing. When you wanted to deliver it, Philip? Friday?
Friday, but like you,
Friday,
but like you, my WhatsApp and my Facebook, full of those comments, people asking every week what's going on with the petitions, and
it almost pressured us into just not going with the flow where it would have fallen the right time. And look at the time it fall.
But Papa God have a plan for everything, Stefan, you know that?
When we decided we're going to do this Tuesday, we did not know that Tobago would have been decided.
That the world was going to change. That the world was going to change. Yeah, we didn't know.
We did not know that. And look how it happened. So I just want to close with this message. Everything happens for a reason.
Indeed.
Everything happens for a reason. And our intentions today, I want to say thanks to all the members of the team who I have not seen or sat with for the longest while since this SOE started. Philip, you know that. When they called that SOE, everybody was kind of scattered. And today was the first day that we came back together as a group and did what we had to do to carry out, to finish the job that we took on, the responsibility. Daddy Barrett, Pauline, we appreciate them coming out. And it was a pleasure today to stand with the team of good people, real good people with good heart. You understand? Good heart and soul. And deliver this to the administration, to the government of the day. So I just wanted to say thanks.
And I want to add to that because I told the media, Stephen, I'm giving you closing comments now, but just to close what he's saying there. And I told the media, this was phase one. Conceptualizing, creating, getting the petition signed, and now serving it on the parliament. That's phase one. Phase two is agitating the parliament to make those issues part of the legislative agenda. So I've been asked, how are we going to do that? I said, we have three of the strongest voices, Stefan Rees, Inchan Ishmael, and myself on social media that are part of the Candlelight movement. Plus our PRO, Candice Barrett, has a show now on MCTV, Everything Woman. It's a show about gender violence and gender affairs. I feel like what Trinidad is about to see, now that this 128,500 signatures have been served on the parliament, Trinidad is about to see what political agitation what it means, what we should have been doing all the time. Stephen Matheson, give me your closing comments, my friend.
Well, Philip, we started with looking at the results in Tobago and how it impacted the political narrative in Trinidad and Tobago. And I just want to give the people of Tobago, say that, I am happy that the people of Tobago would have stood up and made a choice, and that the PDP in Tobago be given an opportunity to prove themselves. I wish them well, and I look forward to working with them in whatever way as a Trinidadian, working with them in whatever way to bring about that kind of development that Tobago is so much needed in Tobago right now to move forward to the next level.
Well said. Stefan.
Your closing comments? I think it's about time. It's time for change. The wind of change is blowing. I feel it passing through my ear all now. Tobago has made that change.
I see it blowing.
Yes, he seemed here, Sarah blow too. No, it's a strong wind, it's a strong wind. It's moving. The finest are here right now. But we gotta be real. We gotta be real with ourselves as people. Whether you're from Trinidad or you're from Tobago, it's Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed.
And Tobago has made a decision for change moving forward. And I think we as Trinidadian people, we need to start thinking about what we want. Not for us, I'm 44 years old. I just study the generation to come. What does it have here for them? My mother wanted my two nephews to fly out and find a life outside because she make up her mind. There is nothing for them here when they leave university. So we have to make up our mind. Not everybody will be able to do that. For the children to go abroad and live on that kind of thing. Some of us have to stay here. Some of us have to work here, earn here, have a living here, have a life here. What do you want in the next 10 years? What is your 10-year plan as a citizen? And when you look at the potential for leadership in the country, do you think that these people could get you there? Or do you think you need a change? What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. It cannot possibly get worse than Colman Booth as Finance Minister or Fitzgerald Hines as National Security. It cannot get worse. Right now we have no Commissioner of Police. And we in the month of December. Christmas shopping, crime does go up in the month of December. And we have no Commissioner of Police. Right? We have a lot of things failing in the country and we need to fix it. And if people who are there right now have not fixed it, do not want to fix it, or cannot fix it, then we have to put people there who can.
Amen.
It's survival right now.
Amen. And to add to what Stefan just said, and just to add, and thank you both, gentlemen, for adding your considerable knowledge to this panel tonight. And to add to what Stefan just said, that and the Chinese of long ago used to say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now. The country we want is the country we want for ourselves and our loved ones is on the other side of our vote. Tobago showed us last night it is possible. These monsters, they're not indestructible. The PNM was politically annihilated yesterday. That is what has to take place in Trinidad for us to move forward as a nation, both the PNM and the UNC. We cannot, in good conscience, and to all the UNC supporters and to all the PNM supporters, it's on you now. It is you that continue to give them the belief that they have a chance at this. I'm calling on the PNM and the UNC supporters to publicly return your membership to those parties. Tell them We're not interested in the politics of bacchanal and confusion and noise anymore. We're no longer interested in the politics of race and divisiveness and separationism. We want a united country with everybody having the same opportunities for themselves and their children, a level play field across the board. That's where we need to go. When the supporters of the PNM and the UNC wake up to their responsibility to the national community, change will descend on this country like a hurricane. We need a better Trinidad. We needed a better Tobago. The journey to a better Tobago began 24 hours ago. We need to get ready for our journey to begin. Until tomorrow, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.
After election, all the bone gone. So come and touch it. Don't look so shocked. Don't just watch it. Doggy sock. All through the years, we shared in tears. They too busy, they can't see me. Time to